The Detroit Lions finished last in the NFC North. 9 wins, 8 losses, 4th place in a division the Lions owned 2 straight years. Dan Campbell stood at a podium in January and graded his own year with a single letter, an F. Now hold a stranger number. One Detroit defender played more snaps than any defensive lineman in football. 63 pressures, 35 quarterback hits, 4 forced fumbles, 14.5 sacks. Aidan Hutchinson did every bit of it without a running mate on the other edge. And what Detroit built around him this offseason has gone unnoticed. The offense never left town. Jared Goff threw for 4,564 yards and 34 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 117 passes for 1,401 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs touched the football 320 times and scored 18 times. Detroit signed center Cade Mays, added Isaiah Pacheco, and spent a first-round pick on a right tackle with 54 straight college starts named Blake Miller. Then they slid Penei Sewell to left tackle. One number explains the whole thing, and it is uglier than anything Lions fans have been told. Defense is where the story bends. Kelvin Sheppard lost 2 starting safeties to season-ending injuries and watched his unit finish 22nd in scoring defense. His cornerback room looks nothing like it did in December. His edge rotation looks nothing like it did in September. Meanwhile, a division rival hired away Detroit's play caller, then signed Detroit's return specialist, then won the North with the best turnover margin in the sport. Detroit closes the season at Soldier Field and at Lambeau Field. Every decision Brad Holmes made this spring points straight at those 2 Sundays. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Lions and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 300 likes on this video. Jahmyr Gibbs carried the football 243 times for 1,223 yards. He caught 77 passes for 616 more, 18 total touchdowns, 62 forced missed tackles as a runner, 3 yards after contact per attempt. Pro Football Focus graded him 5th among every qualified back in the league. He played 67% of Detroit's offensive snaps. When ESPN polled executives, coaches, and scouts this month, they ranked Jahmyr Gibbs 2nd among all running backs in the National Football League. Only Bijan Robinson finished ahead of him. Then Detroit traded away the other half of the backfield. David Montgomery went to Houston in March for guard, Juice Scruggs, a 4th-round pick, and a 2027 7th-rounder. David Montgomery ran for 2,506 yards and 33 touchdowns across 3 Detroit seasons. He wanted a featured role. Brad Holmes wanted cash flexibility and a body inside. Both men walked away satisfied. The replacement is Isaiah Pacheco, a 2-time Super Bowl champion who started 12 games in Kansas City and turns nothing into 2 yards on first down. Detroit then picked up the 5th-year option on Jahmyr Gibbs, locking in $14.3 million fully guaranteed dollars for 2027. Read the signal. Every screen, every empty backfield look, every 3rd and short now runs through one player. Sione Vaki and Jacob Sailors sit behind Isaiah Pacheco as insurance nobody wants to use. Running backs coach Tashard Choice says he has never seen Jahmyr Gibbs move like this. Detroit handed a 24-year-old the heaviest workload of his career and asked him to drag an offense forward. The defense behind him decides whether it matters. Detroit's defense finished 18th in total yards allowed, 20th against the pass, and 22nd in points allowed. Those numbers hide the real story. Members of the starting secondary missed 31 combined games last season. Kirby Joseph hurt his knee in Week 4, tried to play through it, and sat out the final 11 games. Brian Branch tore his Achilles in the 4th quarter of a December win over Dallas. Kelvin Sheppard spent November and December calling a defense with backups on the back end, and offenses noticed immediately. Neither safety practiced this spring. Brian Branch is a strong candidate to open the season on the physically unable to perform list, meaning 4 missed games at minimum. Kirby Joseph remains an open question Dan Campbell refuses to answer, so Brad Holmes built the floor underneath them. He signed Chuck Clark, a veteran with 80 career starts who wore the green dot in Baltimore. He signed Christian Izien out of Tampa. He brought back Avante Maddox. None of them is an all-pro. Every one of them has played meaningful December football. The cornerback room turned over completely. Detroit released Terry and Arnold in June, and the depth chart changed overnight. DJ Reed holds one boundary spot. Rock Ya-Sin and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. split first-team reps opposite him through minicamp. Roger McCreary arrived from Tennessee on a one-year deal to compete inside at nickel. Fifth-round rookie Keith Abney. The second posted 21 passes defended and 5 interceptions across his final 25 starts at Arizona State. Detroit needs 2 of those 4 names to hit. Nothing about the offense works if they do not. Here's the part almost nobody outside Detroit understood. Through 5 games last season, the Lions scored 174 points, a franchise record. They sat 5-3 in early November with a top 5 scoring offense and a roster nobody feared losing to. And Dan Campbell took the play sheet away from first-year coordinator John Morton anyway, 4 years after doing the exact same thing to Anthony Lynn. Detroit went to Washington the next Sunday and hung 44 points on the Commanders. The move looked like genius before the plane landed back in Michigan. It was not. With John Morton calling plays, Detroit averaged 28.8 points and 350.8 yards per game. With Dan Campbell holding the sheet, Detroit averaged 26.9 points and 393.1 yards per game and went 4-5. More yards, fewer points. Detroit fell to 20th on third down. A team with 25-3 and outs across all of 2024 produced 20 of them in 8 games. Jared Goff watched his passer rating drop from 115.2 to 98.6. John Morton lost his job in January. Detroit hired Drew Petzing, whose Arizona offenses ranked second in the league in rushing average across 3 seasons, and turned Trey McBride into a first-team All-Pro. Then Detroit hired Mike Kafka, the man who finished last season as interim head coach of the New York Giants, and made him pass-game coordinator. 2 coordinators. 1 quarterback who Mike Kafka describes as a sniper. Dan Campbell handed the offense to professionals and stepped back into being a head coach. Returned to Aiden Hutchinson because the resolution matters. He played 950 snaps last season, more than any defensive lineman in the sport. He led the entire league in pressures according to Pro Football Focus. 14.5 sacks ranked 4th. 35 quarterback hits ranked 3rd. He became the first player since 1982 to record 40 sacks and 5 interceptions inside his first 4 seasons. League voters still placed him 5th, behind Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Will Anderson Jr., and Max Crosby. Every one of those 4 had help. Aiden Hutchinson had nobody. Detroit fixed it in one aggressive weekend. Brad Holmes traded picks 50 and 128 to the New York Jets to climb to number 44 and take Michigan edge Derek Moore. Derek Moore led the Wolverines with 10.5 tackles for loss and 10 sacks while averaging under 40 snaps a game. His pressure rate of 17.5% led the Big Ten. Detroit also signed DJ Wonnum and Peyton Turner and welcomes Aleem McNeil back inside from a torn knee ligament. The rest of the class fills the cracks. 4th-round rookie Jimmy Rolder led Michigan with 73 tackles and missed only 4.7% of his attempts. Keith Abney II landed inside the top 50 on several draft boards and fell to the 157th pick. 6th-round rookie Skylar Gill-Howard and 7th-round rookie Tyre West join a line rotation with Ty Lake Williams entering year 2. 5th-round receiver Kendrick Law tore a knee ligament during OTAs and lost his season before it started. Now look at the division, because Detroit lives inside a meat grinder. Chicago won the North at 11-6 under Ben Johnson in his first year running a team, 1 season after leaving Detroit's coordinator office. The Bears led the National Football League with 31 takeaways and finished plus 20 in turnover margin. Read the fine print. Chicago ranked 24th in total defense and 21st in points allowed. Caleb Williams improved. The defense survived on giveaways, and giveaway rates swing violently from one season to the next. Regression is not an insult, it is arithmetic. Green Bay finished 9-7 and won with Micah Parsons, anchoring an edge. The league now ranks second at his position. The Packers lost 3 straight to close the year. Watch Derrick Henry run for 216 yards at Lambeau Field and backed into the 7th seed. Minnesota went 9-8, swept Detroit, and eliminated the Lions on a December Thursday when Harrison Smith produced an interception, a sack, and 3 pass breakups in a single night. Nobody in this division wins comfortably. Nobody ever has. The calendar reflects the stakes. Detroit opens at home against New Orleans, hosts Green Bay and Minnesota in back-to-back weeks, then serves as the designated home team against New England in Munich, Germany. Chicago visits Ford Field on Thanksgiving for the 21st meeting between the two clubs on the holiday. Detroit travels to Minnesota on Sunday Night Football in Week 15, hosts the New York Giants on Monday Night Football in Week 16, then finishes on the road at Soldier Field and Lambeau Field. The season ends exactly where the division gets decided. Here's the number promised at the start. Detroit ranked 30th in the National Football League in pass block win rate last season at 55.2%. 30th. 20th in run block win rate. Frank Ragnow retired, unretired, and never returned. Graham Glasgow slid to center and struggled, then got released in March. Taylor Decker requested his release and got it. Detroit scored 481 points anyway and still finished last because the offensive line collapsed underneath one of the deepest skill groups in football. Brad Holmes rebuilt it from the inside out. Cade Mays arrived from Carolina on a 3-year, $25 million deal after allowing 0 sacks across 726 snaps at center. Penei Sewell, a 4-time Pro Bowler and 3-time first-team All-Pro, moved to left tackle for the first time in his professional career. Blake Miller became the highest-drafted Clemson offensive lineman of the common draft era and brings 54 consecutive starts. Tate Ratledge enters year 2. Juice Scruggs, Larry Borum, Ben Barch, and Christian Mahogany form real depth behind them. Understand the chain reaction. Drew Petzing built the second-best rushing average in football with Arizona personnel. Give him a healthy front, a bell cow at running back, and a quarterback who threw 34 touchdowns behind a broken line, and third down stops feeling like a coin flip. Sam Laporta returns from back surgery. Isaac Taslaya scored 6 touchdowns as a rookie, and reports say he looks nothing like the player he was in September. Detroit did not add stars this offseason. Detroit removed the one thing holding its stars back. Which brings us back to Chicago. Ben Johnson took Detroit's division. Then he took Khalif Raymond, a 2-time All-Pro return specialist, on a 1-year deal after Detroit offered him nearly identical money. Then he took the reputation Detroit spent 3 years building in this league. Brad Holmes answered by signing Greg Dortch for $1.4 million, a slot receiver and return man with 90 catches and 8 touchdowns in Arizona, who already knows every word of Drew Petzing's playbook. Detroit stopped chasing headlines and started fixing math. So here's the call. 11 wins, 6 losses, and Detroit walks back into January football. Aiden Hutchinson finishes inside the top 3 of Defensive Player of the Year voting, because Derek Moore finally makes a double team expensive. Jahmyr Gibbs leads the National Football League in yards from scrimmage behind a repaired offensive line. Sam Laporta and Isaac Taslaya turned Detroit's middle of the field into a problem no defensive coordinator solves twice. And Detroit sweeps Chicago, takes back the North, and the national voices calling this roster boring in July spend December explaining how they missed it. Disagree with the record? Disagree with the sweep? Drop your prediction below, subscribe before the next breakdown lands, and tell everyone in the comments which cornerback wins the job opposite DJ Reed. because Detroit has one unsolved problem left on this roster. Everybody inside the building knows the name of it. National reporters keep floating trade targets from San Francisco and Denver. Brad Holmes keeps saying almost nothing, and training camp opens in Allen Park in under 3 weeks. The film says he is nowhere close to finished making phone calls.